I didn't expect that.
So again, Roman, now you advise these organizations. So what was going through your head through the whole process? Though, as Tiffany mentioned, you had this list of activities and stuff that you're supposed to do all the way till May, and then lo and behold, we get the COVID-19 situation that pops up. Stay at home, don't come to campus. So, as an advisor, what was going through your head in, I guess, in dealing and talking to your team?
Oh, there's a lot. So I think kind of it also just goes with my personality and how I am. I'm like action oriented and I focus more on what I could do and how to survive. So a lot of what was going on in my head was like, okay, where do we go from here? What can we do? How can we adapt to this? And how can we change and be flexible to what's going on? So a lot of it was, okay, like for a lot of the students, it's a lot of change. So it's making sure, okay, are the students okay? Are they adapting to their classes? Like, how are they feeling about everything suddenly going online? Or even just feeling going from spring break and then suddenly getting an email saying, hey, like, no more coming to campus, which is a big shock to a lot of people. So, because it's a lot of not being able to say bye to classmates and things like that, or never seeing them again. And so a lot, yeah. So with Tim's reaction too, that's how it was. I would say there are students who have expressed that's how it's felt. And so with my team, it's like, okay, with the students that I have to supervise and advise, how are they feeling first? And then from there, what direction would they want to go with events? And it's also, especially with the board of student activities with BOSA, it's also keeping in mind of like, okay, this is your role, and this is your duty as the board of student activities to make sure that other students, or not even just other students, your fellow peers also are able to engage and still interact with each other despite it having to go online. And I think it was also, in a sense, a good opportunity to talk more about online programming. So because all the programming we do is basically on campus, except for maybe some Instagram stuff that we do. But looking forward to the future, how do we do more online programming and on-campus programming so that we also get our online students? But that's a different talk for another time. But those were, again, there's just a lot of things that were going on through my mind. And so with BOSA, it's like, okay, what direction do you all want to go in? Because again, having to adapt to doing online classes and then having to change all the events that they worked hard for. They worked hard to do all the paperwork, to get approvals, to get quotes, whatever they needed to do for all the events. And then to find out, hey, they're not happening anymore. You're gonna have to change and do something else. So that's a big turnaround and a lot of hard work that in a sense kind of goes down the drain. And so how are we addressing that? And then also trying to figure out, how do we worry about what BOSA looks like for next year?
Mhm.
Because all that happens during the end of the semester as well. With OSA, with the Office of Student Activities, we don't exactly plan events, but a lot of it is, how do we still offer our services? How do we still, like, intramurals got discontinued in a sense, but now they're moving to doing esports tournaments, and also doing like a fitness program. So how do we get students to still, still be engaged with staying healthy, but also it's another way of engagement through esports, intramurals. And then also with our registered independent orgs, so our student clubs, our RIOs, how are we still making sure that they are being as active as they can be or want to be at this time? And so, yeah, there's a lot going on through my mind, but I think a lot of it was really, how do we make sure everyone's okay? And then how do we adapt and be flexible as best as we can? Because it's also accepting that they're not going to be the same. On campus events, online events are not going to be the same. And I don't think that we should expect them to be the same. It's really a different way of doing something. And so it's having a different expectation since we're doing something different. And so thinking about online program, how are we doing the best with what we got?
So being that there's no real definition of normal anymore, I want to maybe ask Brandon and Tiffany again. How do you folks now define normal?
Um, like with this whole COVID thing,
Yeah.
it's normal for me.
What do you mean?
Like, um, it's you know it's kind of sad, but you know, I stay in my house like a lot, just playing games. I watch this weird guy on Twitch all the time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's not very productive, but um, I still get things done. Yeah.
But being that you're kind of, I guess, used to this lifestyle, um, how was it then moving forward? Because now it seems like you're amongst company now.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so like it's pretty normal. Yeah. Sorry, what was the question? The chat is
No,
very
so I think
distracting.
so. Sorry, I think it's like at first you felt, oh, you would stay home a lot, what have you, but now you're amongst company. There's now everyone that has to stay at home. Has that affected anything that you do in your daily routine?
No, I just wake up, get on my computer, check my email, and then like make some breakfast. It's pretty normal. Um, yeah, like I find it easier to like meet up with people online because like it's just me and my voice, not my
Uh-huh.
face. So yeah, I actually like this.
Yes, Brennan, I noticed that you're still not your video camera's still not on. We're waiting. But Tiffany, how about you?
I wish this was my normal. Wow, it's like waking up 5 minutes before your Zoom class is pretty exciting. Not having to commute to school is great. But it's really hard.
Mm,
I guess I'm more like I like that face-to-face interaction. Again, that kind of follows up with my degree program, like hospitality. I want to be there, meet you in person. And so this whole situation kind of feels weird for me. In the
mhm,
beginning, it was like, oh, this can probably work out. And then as days went on, it's like, oh, I don't like this anymore. I want to see people
mm,
and all that stuff. I want to see my classmates. I want to be in classes again. So it's kind of hard. It's really hard, actually,
mhm,
at first, especially I'm not a really good online learner just because like I learn best if I'm in a group of people like physically there and they're explaining it right through me. I mean, Zoom does a really good job of like getting as close as you can to that experience as possible, but it just doesn't like that connection is not really there. So it's pretty hard as a new norm. Um, but like for socially, just like coming like staying at home all day. I mean, there was one point where I was like telling my roommates like, "Hey, I kind of miss going to work."
mm.
Like I always complain like, "Oh, I'm going to work. I'm gonna come home," and it's all made me better. And now that you're home all day, it's like, well, now I want to go to work. Like staying at home all day was cool in the beginning, and now I have to be here mandatory. It's like, oh man.
It can be
So
brutal.
yeah. So this new norm is not fun, but it's for the best. And moving like if we can get this whole situation away and we follow the orders of what is told to us,
Mm.
then it should go away quicker. So that's all I'm kind of hoping for right now. It's just like this is all for the future. Just bear with it now, kind of thing. So.
I think for both you and Brandon, you guys have brought up some interesting insights in your roles with student activities. Things I wrote down. You had mentioned, "Are we satisfied?" And another statement you guys made was, "Can we make the most of the current situation?" And so, like you had mentioned briefly, there was that moment of grief, but it seems like it's like, okay, yes, we are in an unfortunate situation right now, but do we sit in this and just feel sorry for ourselves, or do we just move forward? And so, I don't know if you can. And you guys talked about it somewhat, but could you share maybe more about how how you plow through the grief part and using your role in student activities for Tiffany and Brandon, your roles in student activities to help quote get past this?
Mm. So it's kind of like remembering your purpose in your position. So here at BOSA, our whole mission and purpose is to bring co-curricular activities regarding educational, recreational, cultural, and social events to campus to promote student life. So we know from the get-go our job is to provide that student life, those opportunities to build memories with friends and to allow students to not only enjoy their classes, like enjoy their college experience outside the class, but like help them in ways that could be brought into the classroom, you know, meeting new friends, connecting with peers to form study groups to really enhance their experience at school. So it kind of just rolls back to what we are as an organization. Personally, it was more towards like, okay, so we're here now, and like for the foreseeable future, we're gonna be here for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like we don't know the end of this, so we kind of have to make what we're going to do now, especially with like the whole being online and like now you're gonna be in a situation where it's not normal and it's not gonna be the same, and it's like the feeling sorry for yourself is very like, how do you get past this as a person? So it's finding the support within your friends and your and like just some like mentors and stuff, like talking to people about it. Like I don't like mentally I don't feel okay, and just being open to yourself and open to the people around you. How could I, you know, cope with this? There I've met some people, not from our school, but like just online talking about how this situation has brought their mental health down substantially and any progress they made. And it's really, when you read in the comments to these posts, it's like, oh, there's a huge support system of people that are like, it's okay, you know, like we're all in this together. And it's really like we're all alone together. So, you know, don't feel like you're just by yourself. There's other people, and a lot of people are willing to help you and just talk to you and stuff like that. So being connected to the people, your get friends every day, just telling them like, oh, checking up on you, how you doing, and all that stuff, and like just engaging with them the same way you would like face to face, and just really, it's, I think this is just coming from my perspective. What really helped me through this was talking to people about it, like being open, like, hey, this situation, I don't like it. I don't feel good mentally. I don't know how to get past this. And
So really just being honest with yourself.
Yeah, because if you're just going to like plow through it, just like all like white knuckles and just go through it every day, you're gonna get tired of it, and it's gonna just be very damaging to you in the long run. So knowing that you're not like indestructible to this whole situation, it's okay to feel, it's okay to go through the emotions, and it's just to be honest with someone who you trust, and someone who is going to support you through it and be like, hey, I don't feel good. Can you like check up on me from time to time? Can we talk about other things? Can like reassure me with the situation and stuff? And just being open to someone that can, you know, be your outlet. I found that very helpful for my case and all that stuff. And I believe it could help other students too, just being like open to it, because this situation, it's hitting everyone. It's hitting everyone in the wrong way, but we all have something underlying that's all similar, is that we can make it through as long as we like, you know, support each other and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I got getting through the grief period, in a sense. It's just being honest with myself and just allowing myself to feel and like talking to people to get through it.
That is really great insight. Brandon, what can you add to that? There's a term that came up too quite a bit amongst both of you folks, which was the word teams. So it does seem like you guys are moving forward in a very unified way. So Brandon, if you could share like how you're kind of getting through all this in terms of having that social network.
Yeah, with this whole COVID thing, it's like introduced me to like online work. I've never actually thought that was like a thing, like working over the internet. maybe I've heard of it like before, but I've never done it before.
Mhm.
And like I think this whole situation is a good lesson for everyone. Um, and especially with like the future coming up, I think technology would be like a lot more personal,
Hmm.
and people should like kind of get used to these kind of like remote interactions. And yeah, I think it's very enriching.
When you mentioned it's more personal, what do you mean by that? So what how is technology making things more personal?
Uh, so almost like all the time, we're like data like banks and stuff. That's what I think. We're
Mhm.
like our lives are integrated with like technology. There's like Fitbit watches and stuff that keep track of your heart rate. You know, um, you get to like call anyone with your phone anywhere.
Mhm.
Things that you do in everyday life now has um, technology, integrated with it. You know.
Yeah. And it seems like what you folks are doing student activities is trying to bring these two worlds together, which again, it's really, really cool. Um, and not to put the spotlight on Alfie, but in his former life, he was the student activities guy. And so, what have you seen as far as the shift in how student activities is being delivered?
Um.
Well, this
So.
is more for Alfie. Actually, sorry, Brandon. It's more for Alfie because,
Oh.
yeah.
Oh, I think it's going along with the times. I mean, um, especially with this whole COVID-19 situation, I'm trying to think back when if I were put in this situation, I have no idea how I'd be able to cope with it. But I think what we're learning from all this is we have to find some way, and these are like the takeaway message I'm getting from the conversations with Tifanny, Brandon, and whatnot. It's like making the most of the situation. Yes, there is this grief process, overcoming it, and ultimately knowing what your role is. Finding what your purpose is in doing this kind of thing. But what I'm seeing is that, yeah, this is totally different from what I was doing back then, and given the situation that they're in, but there's a lot of stuff that's happening online. That's the first thing I heard about, like the battle of the colleges doing something online. I think that's pretty cool as well, so it's totally different. And yeah, I think it's taking advantage of the technology that's available. I think that's the biggest difference from what's happening back then to now. I mean, that's something I was really trying to push with my student leaders. It was like, I bought you guys a digital camera. You guys got a GoPro. Take advantage of that. But I'm not sure if they did. Like the thing I heard about the camera is like, oh, where is it? I'm like, oh my gosh. So those are so but I think what I'm really appreciating with this board is, yeah, they're really taking advantage of the situation in terms of technology and, yeah, and coping with COVID, I guess you could say.
Just to let you know, Alfie, the camera is in the cabinet. We
Found
found
the
it.
camera.
Found the
Okay,
camera.
so the
And
funny
the GoPro.
story is, yeah, thank you. Well, the
Yeah.
funny thing is we took the student leaders to a conference, I believe it was in Washington, and brand new camera, Sony camera, digital camera. They're like, wow, all the other colleges were like, wow, that's a really cool camera. They bring it around, and then apparently I'm not supposed to know this, but they ended up almost losing the camera because it was somewhere, like they were having fun, partying, whatever. I'm not supposed to know that part too, but it got stuck in the couch cushions at one of the dorm places. And then there's this moment of freaking out of like, oh my gosh, where's this camera? Where's the camera? And then someone from the other school kind of found it. So I'm glad you all know where the camera is. So that's great.
it's,
Got you,
not,
man.
it's not wedged in a couch somewhere. So, Roman, where do you see? I mean, you did touch on it, but where does this take you? What is your next chapter with student activities?
That's a big question, Sheldon.
Yeah.
I mean, I think considering everything that's going on, yeah, a little bit what I touched on earlier, I think the ideal plan is for programming in the future to be on campus, but also a hybrid of online programming. I think since a lot of programs in general at universities and colleges are going online, I think it also makes sense to have online programming. And again, it won't be the same, but it just looks different.
Mhm. Yeah, I read this piece last night where some of these big universities are embracing the fact that fall 2020 is going to be all online. And so they're bracing for spring 2021 being the semester of whatever we want to call normal. And so, like you said, it's trying to bring some kind of hybrid programming in the near future, like a slow rollout, I guess, of some sort. Yeah. I mean, if for me, if this taught me anything, it's to be flexible, to be humble, to be grateful, but also to be creative. I think like what Tifanny and Brandon have demonstrated, it's okay, yeah, all right, we have to dump all these ideas that we had moving forward, but here's what we can do differently. And so it's like stuff like that. Like no one is giving anyone a script to say, this is how you got to do it. No one has that right now. And so it's super cool to be in a situation to create something that will benefit others. I don't know if that makes sense. But a lot of great insights. Is there any last words you all want to share? Like I mentioned earlier, we've got I think it was some 50 something downloads. Up until this day, there's actually several hundred folks who have downloaded our podcast. And so there's listeners out there. And so if there's any words of advice from your lens and your role that you'd like to share, the floor is yours.
To all the students watching, because I don't know if is like your demographic mostly students, alumni, staff, like
It's
demographic.
it's everyone under the sun. I think when I was looking at the stats from our podcast, we've got, a bunch from America, but there's a few from Europe. Apparently there's one in Africa, one in Australia. And so it could
The
be,
Australian viewer out there.
yeah, it's all over the place. So what message can you send out there?
To the students, I'm gonna talk to students. The student.
Go for it.
To the
Go for it.
students out there, who are listening, it's gonna be okay. Like we had things taken away from us that we've always wanted to do, like graduation, and to the seniors out there, senior prom, and all those memories that you were gonna have. And just know that maybe it's a memory you're not gonna have, but it opens up the opportunity to make more like new memories and like opportunity to have like other things in life. So it's not to get down on the things that you've lost, but more so be hopeful for the things that could happen in the future. Because this whole situation is changing every day, and there's all these other things that are happening. And take the time off to realize what you like, kind of like all the slower things in life. Continue to build relationships to those closest to you, and get to learn about the people and the place around you, and know that everything's going to be okay. Whatever you're feeling is valid, and be open to your emotions. Like if you need a break from everything, like go ahead and like curl up in your bed and just like think, meditate, journal, cry if you need to, because everything you're feeling is okay, and you will get through this because you got this. Yeah. There's no
Excellent.
specifics for the day.
Excellent. Brandon, how about you? Any words of advice you want to give our listeners?
Just keep doing what you're doing. Social media, just like what you do on social media is like a good way to pass time, but like don't get too like engrossed into that. This is also a good time to like find new things to do, new hobbies that are online. And there are so much things to do online, like watching videos, interacting with people, playing games. Yeah, just chill.
Chill, drink water, and go to sleep.
Repeat.
And
Romyn, how about you?
I guess this is something I've been telling myself too. So just with everyone, be gracious with yourself. Like especially if you have the privilege and you still have a full-time work like straight on 8 hours on your computer, that's not realistic for anyone to do. So I think just be gracious with yourself. Like if you don't make a deadline, you weren't able to do this. If you have free time, don't feel the pressure. So I encourage you to learn any new skills or anything you want to do or something you weren't able to do before, but don't put the pressure or the unnecessary stress or anxiety on yourself to complete it and to do it. So I encourage you to do it, but if it adds any unnecessary stress to what you're already feeling, then it's not worth it. So just be gracious with yourself, be kind to yourself, and be kind to others.
Nice. Alfie?
I think most importantly, I always tell this to the student leaders when I used to advise them, is really important to kind of take care of yourself. You know, that's really key. And really to make the most of the situation. I mean, I know it's unfortunate, you know, what's happening, but you know, we're here and just start to get creative. Like I was saying in yesterday's was it yesterday's pod or yesterday's meeting that we had. Like I've never had to do so much dishes in my life, because you know, staying at home, you ending up cooking or whatnot. But and kind of playing off Tiffany's point is, you know, to the students who are supposed to be participating in commencement this year, you know, unfortunately, that's a huge milestone in memory, but this is actually a memory of what we're going through right now. You know, this is something really important, and it's really what we do with the hand that we're dealt that's going to give us different types of memories, you know. So I'm not really saying enjoy it, but we'll cope with it, you know. We'll cope with it.
It's like just putting a positive spin on just what's in front of us right now.
What about you, Sheldon?
You know, I think everyone said just wonderful things. I think the one, again, it's just feeling grateful. If this interview again has perhaps retaught me is,
oh no, he froze.
no.
Did I freeze?
You did.
Okay. Well,
I was like, wow, you just left us in like wow,
well, okay, so
like the dramatic pause.
Good thing, because I was saying a bunch of swear words anyway. But but it's to be. I think it's to be grateful and appreciate what you got. For me, like I'm seeing more of my neighbors outside, even though we're not supposed to be outside. But you know, I'm seeing our neighbors go outside, which is great, and we're chatting as best as we can. And so it's just being appreciative with what you have. I think that would be my takeaway today. But thank you, everyone. I guess everyone in the Twitch world. Thank you, Brandon. The comments were too brutal.
They loved it.
I'm gonna watch the stream. I want to see the chat.
Oh my God! So
Oh,
I
boy.
might
Do you
do
know the
two
link?
options. I might post this on my YouTube site. And to be honest, I don't think there's a whole lot of editing I need to do. I think everything was just wonderful today. But thank you, everyone. And yeah, just thank you for listening to the listeners out there, also those in the Twitch world. This is the Kuilei Courageous Conversations. If you didn't catch it, it's KCC. So the Kuilei Courageous Conversations, we will post this on our site soon, perhaps maybe on a YouTube page, obviously on Twitch. And all right, you guys take care. Please take care of yourself. And like what everyone shares, wash your hands.
Yes,
20 seconds.
wash your hands. 20 seconds. Sing happy birthday twice.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Bye.